So he's joining us all the way from the other side of the Netherlands. I won't attempt to say the name because my pronunciation is bad. He is a web performance consultant, a web performance GDE or developer expert, and the CTO of the great RUMvision tool. And tonight he's going to be presenting on RUM and LoAF. Is it LoAF?
No.
LoAF? We're about to find out, right? Okay,
Yeah,
so please put your loaves of bread together.
All right.
I have puns all night. For Erwin Hofman.
You're already. Thank you. You're actually already spoiling one of my slides, but doesn't matter. I've got enough anyway. All right. Let's see if this works as expected. Okay. Well, it does. Okay, there we go. So yeah, this one was spoiled already. So I asked my mother to create me a metric-based loaf to make me my slide deck, so I didn't need to create my own slide deck. But that did not end well, so I eventually ended up creating my own. And I'm going to talk about LoAF, hence the title Meet LoAF or LoAF actually. I would say I feel like a fraud standing here, but obviously Google employees are involved in both the API as well as coming up with the awesome IMP metric, I would say. Awesome IMP metric because it's, I would say a follow-up, but it's also part of one of my slides, a follow-up of the FID metric. So let's continue because I've got quite some slides. Topics today are, first of all, short story on Google Metrics, very short because eventually I want to talk about IMP and LoAF. First input delay and IMP itself, LoAF, RUM, and Chrome extensions and third parties. And the last two are the slides where things become interesting, I would say. Rick already introduced me. I'm a developer since 2001. Still a developer today, although not in outsourced cases, not in consultancy cases where I'm doing audits and training sessions. Co-founders already being mentioned, etc. And I became a Google developer expert at the age of 37, so it's not too late if you plan to become a Google developer expert as well. And what I like about Google coming up with the cool web vitals is it's basically giving us an opportunity to get an idea of the impact on user experience. It's still called the test that you can use online is still called PageSpeed Insights, but nowadays maybe technical UX insights would be a better title, although I do know most people know the tool by the term PageSpeed Insights. Because it's not only about page speed. Transfers byte maybe is about page speed, SCP, LCP is, but IMP, CLS, FID isn't really about page speed anymore. It's broader, I would say, about, as I said before, technical user experience. And it's giving a better idea of the impact on UX than, for example, page load event and DOM content loaded can still be helpful from a technical perspective, I would say. But from a user experience perspective, page load and DOM content loaded aren't as meaningful. Luckily, Google continues to come up with new APIs as well. LoAF API is one example. And why we need it, I would say, because we all know that we can't really get an idea of FID or IMP Lighthouse. We do have total blocking time, but we don't know when users start to interact. Each user will start to interact at different moment in time during the page load, and you just can't really simulate that in a lab data test. All right. So I hope everyone reading this slide now recognizes that the description of these two metrics are false. However, this is what you get. This is the explanation that you get if you ask a typical average or maybe P75 SEO specialist. Which basically already describes that these metrics can be quite intimidating maybe or complex. Obviously, this is the correct description of the two metrics. And at the right, we can see we see a newly launched shop, and they already struggle with the IMP metric. All right, so long animation frame. I also just quoted from the documentation, by the way, so you can see the URLs. Someone taking a photograph. All right. You can see the URLs at the bottom, where a further explanation, also written by Barry, co-written, I should say. Really writing a lot of documents, by the way, lately. But unlike, for example, long tasks, I would say, and that's our experience so far, LoAF is better able to get an idea of what actually is impacting or causing an IP. All right, I've got a lot of slides, so I'm keeping up the pace. It is still in origin trial, and we have our own RUM real user monitoring solution, and we obviously enrolled into the origin trial to be able to capture this data on behalf of our users as well when they enable this specific setting. But you can also test with it yourselves already by going to specifically the Chrome flag settings and well, enable the experimental web platform features. And these are well, there are different reasons. There is a lot of code examples, by the way, on the previously shown documentation URL. But we might maybe all recognize the top one. Well, different ways to get this kind of data. And the way we use it in RUMvision is we basically cross-match the start time of an LoAF with the start time and end time of an IMP. And we then check the longest task. And although we might still miss quite some valuable information, we are collecting this data in bulk. And at the end of the day, if you are able to collect a lot of information, if you have a lot of page views and as a result data points as well, then you will still get the, I would say, the biggest impact towards an IP challenge, I would say. I could say IP issue, but we all know it's quite challenging to also tackle it. All right, and this is the result that you would get. This is just one example of a LoAF entry with a lot of information. So we had to do some well, calculations ourselves to come up with. It was quite a challenge in RUMvision, and I guess basically RUM in general, to come up with a way to present this to users. Yeah, we do have one screenshot in one of the following slides. So let's continue. All right. So I already described before that it is quite a challenge in lab data that in lab data testing, you could write a test, by the way, yourselves where you start to interact with elements. But once again, it will vary per device memory, for example. That's already one challenge. And we might be, for example, if I visited a website before and I'm going back to the same web page and refresh the page, I know when the web page is done loading. So I might wait before starting to interact with the hamburger menu, add to cart, while maybe one of my parents, my mother, for example, she might start to hit the hamburger menu right away once it's visible. But there is a challenge, there is a chance that other JavaScript is still running on the main thread, and I say JavaScript, but it could also be rendering by the browser, for example. So yeah, every user might interact with the page at a different time, which once again cannot be simulated in lab. So as a result, yeah, you just want to get that information in from real users as well. Hence RUMvision. Before talking about third parties, I first wanted to talk about Chrome extensions, because by looking at the protocol of, and if I go back a few slides, we can see the source location over here, which is exposing, and also, by the way, the specific file line number, character number, I should say. And by looking at the protocol, when we are dealing with a Chrome extension, it would say Chrome extension. So we recognize when something is a Chrome extension and we throw it in one big bucket, so that you can see all the Chrome extensions happening on a, well, and on your shop or site. I guess Safari would not like this because of maybe privacy issues. Although I do know whenever Google is coming up with a API, they do their own privacy research as well. Will it impact? Is it likely to impact? Could it impact privacy? So I hope Google is not removing this.
It is.
Yeah?
Yes.
Oh, that's a shame. Okay, that's a shame because in this case we saw a lot of sites, multiple sites having one specific Chrome extension, and it was serving a 5 megabyte file. I also know because in our tooling, if you click on whatever resource over here, you get a pop-up, and if you then click on the file name, you would be redirected to the specific Chrome extension webpage in the Chrome extension web store. And in this case, it was this specific not third party Chrome extension. So it's quite a shame this is going to be removed. Yeah, you could add this to your Chrome browser, but maybe not today, given the fact that it's serving a 5 megabyte file. Let's not do that. All right. Then third parties, because aside from Chrome extension, we've got way more valuable information compared to Chrome extensions alone. And I would like to start in a different order. Instead of starting with the good, let's end with the good instead. This is basically the same slide as before, although in this case we are showing the bottlenecks per host name. And once you click on the host name, you get all the resources that were detected as the highest task within a LoAF. And for example, you could already start to draw conclusions from this. If you would need to pick a specific cookie solution, then you might be better off by going with cookie law, for example, compared to cookiebot or consent manager. So quite some valuable information. Also, by the way, you might recognize this heat map, mouse flow, ClickSees, Opinion as well, Hotjar maybe. They would all do similar tasks, tracking user behavior, and we can already draw the conclusion that it's not particularly good for IP. We can now, with this kind of data, we are then also able to, basically see if third parties are lying about what their third party is doing, if it comes with an impact or not. This is one specific third party that we saw as well, and when we checked their documentation, they wrote, as we can see over here, that it will quietly run in the background of your store. Well, let's be honest, will it really? Because if it is impacting IMP, we will find you using LoAF, and well, I will probably just email you. Because in this case, we saw a regression of the IMP caused by this specific third party. There are also cases, by the way, where maybe people are not lying deliberately, but just don't know. A lot of third parties aren't that concerned when it comes to performance, and I hope LoAF will help in raising awareness. Because, I am this kind of guy, maybe. Sometimes I hate it, sometimes I like doing this. And in this case, I basically link them to their specific impact, as we can see in a previous slide over here. Opinion, there we go. Quite a big impact. And they responded as following. Thanks for your comment. You can choose to self-host our JavaScript file. Yes, that is going to improve our IMP. It isn't, obviously. And then the good, to end in a positive way, I would say with LoAF API, we are, first of all, site owners are better able to debug IMP issues in general, and also get our answers in bulk instead of needing to test yourselves. And then maybe you are on a fast device, so you're basically then only testing your own experience. By using LoAF in RUM in general, you're able to get answers in bulk, and you also, the more data points you get for a specific third party, you basically get proof that that specific third party is often involved in our IMP challenges. We, as RUMvision, now also get quite some answers regarding different third parties, and that's allowing us to giving us data to, well, first of all, reach out to third parties and inform them about their issues. And in general, as a community as well, we can then also educate people and raise awareness. To end in a positive way, we already saw within 2 weeks after we noticed a specific third party causing IMP issues, we reached out to them. And already I was quite surprised because, yeah, often development costs a lot of time, let alone development at the end of third parties. They are maybe reluctant to, well, even listen to us or change their code at all. But in this case, within 2 weeks' time, they already improved their JavaScript. And more details, they used the Moment.js library. And whoever used Moment.js library in the past might know that even Moment.js themselves deprecated their own library because it's just way too big. They admitted themselves as well. But this specific third party was still using Moment.js. And when we reached out within 2 weeks, they removed the Moment.js library from their resources. And as a result, we could confirm that we saw less IMP occurrences caused by their specific third party. So I would say that's a win. And I hope more third parties will follow. Thank you.